公也长 Chapter 5以子为公也长，可欺也。虽在雷泄之中，非其罪也。以其子欺之。Confucius remarked of a disciple, saying, No man need hesitate to give his daughter to such a man to wife. It is true he has been in prison, but it was through no crime of his. Confucius accordingly gave him his own daughter to wife. 子谓难容，邦有道，不废；邦无道，免于行路。以其兄之子欺之。Confucius remarked of another disciple, saying, When there is order and justice in the government of the country, he will not be neglected. But should there be no order and justice in the government of the country, he will escape persecution. Confucius accordingly gave his niece to him to wife. 二子谓子建，君子哉若人！鲁无君子者，斯焉取斯。Confucius then went on to remark of another disciple, saying, What a wise and good man he is! I wonder if there were no wise and good men in the country, how that man could have acquired the character he has. 三子贡问曰：次也何如？子曰：女器也。曰：何器也？曰：胡琏也。Another disciple who heard the above remarks said then to Confucius, A work of art. What work of art? Asked the other. A rich jeweled work of art, was the reply. 四或曰：庸也，人而不佞。子曰：焉用佞？欲人以口给，屡增于人。不知其人，焉用佞？ Somebody remarked of a disciple of Confucius, saying, He is a good moral man, but he is not a man of ready wit. When Confucius heard the remark, he said, What is the good of a ready wit? A man who is always ready with his tongue to others will only often make enemies. I do not know if he is a moral man, but I do not see the good of having a ready wit. 吾子使七雕开示。对曰：吾思之未能信。子说，Confucius on one occasion wanted a disciple to enter public life. No, answered the disciple, I have not yet confidence in myself. Thereupon Confucius commended him. 六子曰：道不行，诚浮浮于海。从我者其有与？子路闻之喜。子曰：有也好勇过我，无所取材。Confucius on one occasion remarked, There is no order and justice now in the government in China. I will betake me to a ship and sail over the sea to seek for it in other countries. If I take anybody with me, I will take you, referring to a disciple. The disciple referred to, when he heard of what Confucius said, was glad and offered to go. My friend, said Confucius then to him, you have certainly more courage than I have. Only you do not exercise judgment when using it. Footnote 21. The Saint Peter of the Confucian Gospel. A brave, intrepid, impetuous, chivalrous character. His name is 仲由, 子路, being his honorific name. We make exception to our rule in his case, as in the case of 颜回, mentioned in Chapter 2, Section 9. 七孟武伯问：子路人乎？子曰：不知也。又问：子曰：有也，千乘之国，可使治其父也，不知其人也。求也何如？子曰：求也，千世之义，百乘之家，可使为之宰也，不知其人也。赤也何如？子曰：赤也，数代立于朝，可是与宾客言也，不知其人也。A member of a powerful family or noble in Confucius' native state asked Confucius if his disciple, the above-mentioned Chang was a moral character. I cannot say, answered Confucius. But on being pressed, Confucius said, in the government of a state of even the first-rate power, the man could be entrusted with the organization of the army. I cannot say if he could be called a moral character. The noble then put the same question with regard to another disciple. Confucius answered, "In the government of a large town or in the direction of affairs in a small principality, the man could be entrusted with the chief authority. I cannot say if he could be called a moral character." The noble went on to put the same question with regard to another disciple. Confucius answered, "At court, in a gala dress reception, he could be entrusted with the duty of entertaining the visitors. I cannot say if he could be called a moral character." 八子谓子贡曰：“予与回也孰欲？”对曰：“次也何敢忘回？回也闻一以之十，次也闻一以之二。”子曰：“弗如也。吾与女弗如也。” Confucius once said to a disciple, "You and we, who is the abler man?" The disciple answered, "How should I dare compare myself with him? When he has learned one thing, he immediately understands its application to all cases, whereas when I have learned one thing, I can only follow out its bearing and applications to one or two particular cases." Editor's note: the last verse was absent from Ku Hung Ming's translation. James Legge gave the translation as the master said, "You are not equal to him. I grant you, you are not equal to him." 九载与昼秦。子曰：“朽木不可雕也，粪土之墙不可污也，予与何诸？”子曰：“始无于人也，听其言而信其行；今无于人也，听其言而观其行。予与改世。” A disciple of Confucius spent the best hours of the day in sleep. Confucius, remarking on it, said, "You cannot carve anything out of rotten wood nor plaster a wall built up of rubbish. What is the use of rebuke in such a case?" Confucius then went on to say, "At one time, when I wanted to judge of a man, I listened to what he said, and I knew for certain what he would do in his life. But now, when I want to judge of a man, I have to look at what he does in his life as well as listen to what he says. It is, perhaps, men like this young man who have made me change my method of judging men." 十子曰：“吾未见刚者。”或对曰：“申诚。”子曰：“诚也欲，焉得刚？” Confucius once remarked, "I do not now see a man of strong character." "There is son and so," said somebody. "No," replied Confucius, "he is a man of strong passions. He is not a man of strong character." 十一子贡曰：“我不欲人之家诛我也，吾亦欲无家诛人。”子曰：“次也，非尔所及也。” A disciple said to Confucius, "What I do not wish that others should not do unto me, I also do not wish that I should do unto them." "My friend," answered Confucius, "you have not yet attained to that." 十二子贡曰：“夫子之文章，可得而闻也；夫子之言行于天道，不可得而闻也。” A disciple of Confucius remarked, "You will often hear the master speak on the subjects of art and literature, but you will never hear him speak on the subjects of metaphysics or theology." 十三子路有闻，谓之能行，唯恐有闻。When Confucius' disciple, the intrepid Chang had learned anything which he was not yet able to carry out into practice, he was afraid to learn anything new. 十四子贡问曰：“孔文子何以谓之文也？”子曰：“敏而好学，不耻下问，是以谓之文也。” A disciple, speaking of an ancient worthy of the time, inquired of Confucius, saying, "How was it that he had the title of book clerk added as an honor to his name after his death?" "He was," answered Confucius, "a man of great industry, who applied himself to self-culture. He was not ashamed to seek for information from others more ignorant than himself. For that reason he has had the title of book clerk added as an honor to his name after his death." 十五子谓子产，有君子之道四焉：其行己也公，其事上也敬，其养民也惠，其使民也义。Confucius remarked of a famous statesman, the cupbearer of the time, saying, "He showed himself to be a good and wise man in 4 ways. In his conduct of himself, he was honest, and in serving the interests of his prince, he was serious. In providing for the wants of the people, he was generous, and in dealing with them, he was just." 16子曰：晏平仲善与人交，久而敬之。 Confucius remarked of another famous statesman, the Sir William Temple of the time, saying, "He knew how to observe the true relations in friendship. However long-standing his acquaintance with a man might be, he always maintained throughout the same invariable careful respect." 17子曰：臧文仲居蔡，山节早着，何如其之也？ Confucius remarked of an eccentric character of the time, saying, "The man actually built a chapel elaborate with carvings for a large tortoise which he kept. What can one say of the intellect of a man like that?" 18子张问曰：令尹子闻3事为令尹，无喜色；3已之，无愠色。就令尹之政，必以告新令尹。何如？子曰：忠矣。曰：仁矣乎？曰：未之，焉得仁？崔子是其君，陈文子有马10乘，弃而为之。至于他邦，则曰：犹吾大夫崔子也，为之。至一邦，则又曰：犹吾大夫崔子也，为之。何如？子曰：轻矣。曰：仁矣乎？曰：未之，焉得仁？A disciple of Confucius asked him to give his opinion of a public character of the time, saying, "In his public life 3 times he was made prime minister, and yet on none of these occasions did he show the least signs of elation. 3 times he was dismissed from office, and also on none of those occasions did he show the least signs of disappointment. He was careful every time, when giving up office, to explain to his successor the line of policy which the government under his hitherto had been pursuing." Now, asked the disciple, "What do you think of him?" "He was," answered Confucius, "a conscientious man." "But," asked the disciple, "could he be called a moral character?" "I cannot say," replied Confucius, "if he could be called a moral character." The disciple then went on to ask about another public character, saying, "When the prime minister in his native state murdered the prince, his master, that worthy had large possessions in the country, but he threw them all away and quitted the country. Arriving at another state, he remarked, 'I see here they are all patricides, the same as our patricide minister at home,' and immediately again quitted that country. Thus he went on from one state to another, making the same observation. Now, what do you think of this man?" "He was," replied Confucius, "a pure, high-minded man." "But," asked the disciple, "could he be called a moral character?" "I cannot say," answered Confucius, "if he could be called a moral character." 19季文子3思而后行。子闻之曰：在，思可矣。 It was remarked of a public character of the time that he always reflected thrice over every time before he acted. When Confucius heard of the remark, he observed, "Think twice, that is sufficient." 20子曰：宁无子邦有道则之，邦无道则愚。其之可及也，其愚不可及也。 Confucius remarked of a public character of the time, saying, he was a man who, when there was order and justice in the government of the country, acted as a man of great understanding. But when there was no order and justice in the government of the country, he acted as if he was a man of no understanding. It is easy to act like him as a man of understanding, but it is not easy to imitate him in the way he showed how to act as a man of no understanding. 21子在陈曰：归于，归于，吾党之小子狂简，斐然成章，不知所以才至。 When Confucius in the last days of his travels abroad was in a certain state, he was heard to say, "I must think of going home. I must really think of going home." My young people at home are all high-spirited and independent. They are, besides, accomplished in all the arts, but they have no judgment. 22子曰：伯夷，叔其不念旧恶，愿是用兮。Confucius, remarking of two ancient worthies, famous for the purity and saintliness of their lives and character, said, They forgave old wrongs, therefore they had little to complain of the world. Footnote 22. The names of these two men are 伯夷 and 叔齐, who were two sons of a prince of a small principality. They both gave up their heirship to the throne to a younger brother and retired from the world. When the old imperial dynasty was changed, they refused to eat the grain of the new dynasty, and finally starved themselves to death at the foot of a lonely mountain. 23子曰：孰谓微生高直？或其息焉，岂诛其邻而与之。Confucius remarked of a character of the time, who says that the man is an honest man. When somebody begged him for some household necessary, he went and begged of his neighbors for it and gave it as his own. 24子曰：巧言令色，足弓，左丘明耻之，丘亦耻之。逆怨而有其人，左丘明耻之，丘亦耻之。Confucius remarked, plausible speech, fine manners and studied earnestness are things of which a friend of mine was ashamed. I am also ashamed of such things. To conceal resentment against a person and to make friends with him, that is also something of which my same friend was ashamed. I am also ashamed to do such a thing. 25. 颜渊，记录事。子曰：何各言而至？子路曰：愿车马，衣轻裘，与朋友共，避之而无憾。颜渊曰：愿无伐善，无施劳。子路曰：愿闻子之志。子曰：老者安之，朋友信之，少者怀之。On one occasion, when two of his disciples, the favorite Yan Hui and Chang the intrepid, were in attendance on him, Confucius said to them, Now tell me, each of you, your aim in the conduct of life. I would like, answered the intrepid Chang Yu, if I had carriages and horse and clothing of furs, to share them with my friends, to be able to consider such things as much belonging to them as belonging to me. And I, answered the favorite Yan Hui, I would like to be able not to boast of my ability and to be able to be humble in my estimate of what I had done for others. Now, said the intrepid Chang Yu then to Confucius, we would like to hear your aim, sir, in the conduct of life. My aim, replied Confucius, would be to be a comfort to my old folk at home, to be sincere, and to be found trustworthy by my friends, and to love and care for my young people at home. 26. 子曰：已矣乎！吾未见能见其过而内自颂者也。Confucius was once heard to say, Alas! I do not see now a man who can see his own failing or is willing to bring a suit against himself before his own conscience. 27. 子曰：时事之义，必有忠信如丘者焉，不如丘之好学也。Confucius once remarked, Even in a very small town, there must be men who are as conscientious and honest as myself. Only they have not tried to cultivate themselves as I have done.